Today's giveaway, a very popular program, MAPS Powerlift, actually designed to help you get to your first powerlifting meet, or if you're just interested in getting stronger in the bench, deadlift, and the squat. So it's specifically for powerlifting, very popular program, and we're, of course, going to give it away for free. So here's how you can enter to get free access to that, right? Leave a comment below in the first 24 hours that we drop this episode, subscribe to this channel, and turn on your notifications. If we pick your comment as the winner among all the comments, we'll notify you. You'll get free access to that program. Also, we're running a sale on 2 very popular MAPS workout programs, MAPS Performance, train like an athlete, look like an athlete, and MAPS Aesthetic, train for symmetry and balance like a bodybuilder. Those are the 2 programs on sale. Okay, so if you want the MAPS Performance sale, it's 50% off. Go to mapsgreen.com. If you want the MAPS Aesthetic 50% off sale, go to mapsblack.com. For both of those, the discount code is FEB50. So that's FEB50, no space, for that discount. All right, here comes the show. Sometimes the best way to build more muscle is to not add weight to the bar or get stronger. Let's talk about this. Yeah, what's that face for?
Yeah. Say that again? Say that one more time?
You know what? At a certain point, so I think this is especially true for, and there's a lot of context here, right? I think this is especially true for people who've been working out for a long period of time, where
that's the only metric they're focused on.
Yeah, and adding more weight to the bar starts to change the risk versus reward ratio.
Oh,
right?
I get where you're going.
Yeah, okay. So like, you know, let's say like the other day I did some squats and I went really heavy. And for me, really heavy is I did 405. I think I did 6 reps, which is a really, for me, that's a good amount. And after I was done, I was kind of like, oh, that was cool. But then I thought about it and I said, you know, the risk versus reward on that wasn't worth it. Now, I didn't hurt myself. Everything was okay. But if my form is off just by a little bit, for me at least, with that weight, the risk of injury is so much higher than, let's say, if I put 315 on and slowed the reps down, paused at the bottom, squeezed. In other words, made the 315 feel like 405.
So really what you're saying is that intensity might not be, you know, the focus always to pursue, like in terms of like ramping that intensity to its highest point, which a lot of athletes get into this predicament of how, you know, where's that line? How can I always press that line to get maximal result?
It's the delicate dance with the ego.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, you know that. You have the knowledge. You have the experience. Like, if you were to pull yourself out of it and ask, you know, you as the trainer who's training the guy, should you do X or should you do Y, you would definitely push that person in the right direction. But it's funny how it doesn't matter how long you've been doing this for, you still have these moments of like where you do that.
Yeah, I think, you know, I think this is where I think all strength sports have some value, and you can learn from you know, athletes in those strength sports, different things, right? And one thing that bodybuilders with longevity, I'm gonna make sure I say that, because some bodybuilders don't do this, but the ones with longevity, like people like Dexter Jackson, right? This was a guy that competed at the highest level up into his, I believe, late 40s, right? Almost no injuries. I don't remember ever reading about the guy getting injured. And when you watched him work out, he wasn't using ridiculous heavy weights on the bar, but what you did notice is he was really connected and he made the weight feel much heavier. Now, let's contrast that to other very successful bodybuilders with shorter careers with lots of injuries. Of course, the greatest of all time, most winningest bodybuilder ever was Ronnie Coleman, and not taking anything away from the guy. I mean, I don't think anyone's ever matched his physique on stage, but he lifted so heavy with so much weight, and there were so many injuries that followed that. Dorian Yates is another guy that had lots of injuries. Branch Warren's another guy, right? So I think at some point, and I think getting stronger, especially when you're a beginner, intermediate, it's very important. Just add weight to the bar, do good form. It's a great way to get your body to progress. But at some point, especially if you've been working out for a few years, the risk versus reward stops paying off. Like, okay, I can add 10 more pounds to the bar, or I could slow my reps down and squeeze more and make it feel harder. Like I know I could do that, right? I know that if I wanted to, I could make a weight feel like it's 100 pounds heavier simply by how I lift the weight. And it is an ego thing, because I like to see the bar with more weight on it. But if my form is off a little bit, if my knees move to the left or right, or if I'm not perfectly in the groove, with less weight, I'm less likely to cause a problem that then I can't work out for weeks because I hurt myself.
Exactly. And every time like weight is the major focus, you don't pay attention to a lot of those little nuanced things and signals that your body's sending you while you're performing the exercise, which if you can slow the tempo even down and really pay attention to where you're losing bracing and you're losing support and tension within that lift, that could be a breakthrough for you in order to then come back and then add weight.
Part to blame is our space again too, I feel like, right? Like we always celebrate PRs.
Of course.
And strong lifts. Like, when was the last time you ever seen somebody do a post and celebrate the quality of somebody's movement? Think about that.
Mm-hmm. That's boring.
Right? I mean, it is and it isn't. Like, I mean, luckily I was introduced to this into this space. And when I first got into fitness, like when I was 19, 20 years old, I was really into the mechanics and like quality, like just trying to have like perfect form. In fact, I used to get a kick out of being in great muscular shape and then lifting really lightweight. And I used to always go find like the buff dude in the gym that was grunting and groaning and lifting all this heavy weight and go do my little 10-pound weights next to him, but look all jacked. Like, so I actually first fell in love with that side of fitness.
That's too far though. I don't know about 10 pounds.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of an exaggeration. But really, though, I used to go do movements like that, and I'd use that as an example to my clients that, listen, you don't need to go lift all that weight to build a physique or a body that's incredible. I later on got into lifting heavy way later, and I've dealt with more issues, aches and pains in the last like 5 to 8 years since I started lifting really, really. And it's not because I lifted heavy that I got those problems. It's because of the ego lifts. It's because when I probably should have pulled back and worked on more of the quality of the movement or worked on mobility or took a light day, I just didn't do that. I was so caught up in the getting stronger and putting more weight on the bar. And since I have gone in that direction, I've battled and dealt with more aches and pains in my life than I ever did.
I'm way better at, what's funny? I want to ask you guys if this is true for you guys too. I'm better at that for certain lifts and certain body parts and worse at it for other lifts and other body parts. Yeah. For example, when it comes to like doing rows, okay, I'm very good at pulling weights. I can lift a lot of weight if I want to. But more recently what I've done is I've said, okay, I'm only going to go up to X amount of pounds, and my goal is to get close to failure with 10 reps. And it's a weight that's way lighter. Like if I do really heavy rows for 10 reps, I could probably go 275 or 250, right? Get pretty heavy. I'll go down to 185 and slow down and squeeze. And man, that 10th rep is like, it's intense, it's heavy, and it's hard because of the way I'm doing the reps. The side effect of that is I get better results. And when it comes to adding more weight, it's just less forgiving. If you're 1% off on a lift and you're lifting not your max load, you're less likely to hurt yourself. You're hitting your max load, like with that squat that I did, that squat workout I did, right? If my form was off a little bit, you know what I would be complaining about right now? Oh man, I hurt my back. Yeah. Oh, I can't lift now for a couple weeks, which of course it's lesson learned maybe, or maybe I have to learn it again.
I definitely think it's harder to apply to the lifts that you're strong in. Right?
Yeah.
Like, so for me it was a bench press, and that was something I always had pride in terms of it being one of my stronger lifts. And then to reduce the weight was attacking my own psychology of, I know I could do more than this. And so I have to fight that sense of wanting to load it up and not really work on all the nuances and the technique of it. But thankfully, so I started actually completely opposite of Adam, and so I was more focused on whatever I could get to, the number I could get to in terms of weight, and as intense as I could go, and then really kind of pulled myself out because it really started to deter my progress to a point where I just flatlined, and then just started to kind of rebuild my body, work on all body weight, work on all the little details. And it took me so much further, and that's how I got into these kind of unconventional lifts. That it's pure movement, and people ask me all the time, what muscle are you working with this? And it's such an annoying question, but at the same time, I get it because I was in that mindset a long time ago. What is this really doing for me? Well, it's really hard to create that type of fluid, controlled, amazing, beautiful movement good luck.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to suck at it. And that's why you're talking shit.
Yeah.
And that's what I was doing. And until I started doing it, and then you realize the benefits that provides, it's a whole new world of support when you lift heavy.
Yeah. For me, it was as a kid, you know, I got into it really young. I was 14. And then my first big impactful moment was, you know, learning how to squat from powerlifters. And they told me, and they gave me the right advice, by the way, right? I was a 16-year-old kid. And they did say, just get stronger at the deadlift, the squat, and the bench. Now, remember, I'm a beginner and I'm a kid. And it worked. I got stronger and I got bigger and I built muscle. But that's like, it doesn't keep working that way. Like you can't keep pressing that. But, you know, for me, it's like identified with that, right? Oh, if I get stronger, I'll get bigger. If I get stronger, I'll get bigger. At some point, the risk versus reward doesn't work. And this is why you hear so many, this is why we would be in the gym and I would deadlift as a, you know, 20-year-old general manager, and some 50-year-old ex-bodybuilder would come up to me and be like, oh, yeah, I used to deadlift, but now I can't because I hurt my back or whatever. It wasn't the deadlift that hurt his back. It's probably what I'm doing, right? Which is I'm not learning my lesson about, hey, I can make this weight feel harder and get better results and dramatically reduce my risk of injury. So I think if you're a beginner or intermediate and your form and technique is good, that's okay. Keep pushing to get stronger. There's actually, it's a great thing to aim for. But at some point, you got to look at other stuff because, you know, you add another 5 or 10 pounds to the bar, the risk of injury exponentially grows, right? It just, you know, it might increase your risk of injury. If you go from 100 pounds to 150 pounds on a lift, you might, you know, go up by 2% with your risk of injury. You go from 300 to 350, now you're talking about 10% increase or 15% increase. And the heavier you go, the more that becomes a problem. So, yeah, you can make, and again, bodybuilders are good at this. If you see really good bodybuilders, they will lift, and they often get made fun of this for this particular reason. Other strength athletes like to poke at bodybuilders for this, but it's a skill to be able to do a lateral raise with 15 pounds.
Yeah.
And, you know, be a 230 pound
fried by doing
bodybuilder, right? And develop these incredible delts. Like that requires a level of connection and technique and form that is valuable. And I'm not saying this is everything, but for those of us who are obsessed with strength, this piece right here can pay us dividends.
You know, our buddy Ben Pekulski is really good about this too.
Yeah,
like Ben preaches about quality of movement, and he's one of those bodybuilders that's still lifting and going strong, and you don't see him really highlight like big PR lifts. Like he's always talking about technique and form, and so yeah, no, much smarter way to lift. And so I kind of was on one side, then went the other, and like, you know, one extreme to the other extreme, and like to think that I'm somewhere in the middle now. But I mean, I think the other thing that's probably why this happens too is when you build a lot of strength, and we've all experienced this, like the gains come on fast.
Yeah.
It's a little bit slower process when you're, you know, diving into mobility and working on increased range of motion and slowing down the tempo and making your technique look pretty. I don't think you see the gains come on as fast.
It's not immediate.
As fast as you do when you start doing it. You increase your squat by 10 or 15 pounds or 50 pounds, like you see the difference. You see the difference on your legs like right away, like relatively quick, where you might, you know, work on getting better and better at a technique for a long time before you see much progress, like as far as the way the physique looks. And we're so attached to that. I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah,
too.
And to be honest, I think I know all of us are kind of like at this point, we've all been working out for so long that this is now what we have to, this is now the hurdle.
Right.
Which it wasn't 10 years ago. 10 years ago, this wasn't the hurdle. Now this is the hurdle. How do I continue to maximize my progress? Because adding weight to the bar now is not necessarily pragmatic for some of my lifts.
And also avoiding pain, you know, at this point, because of all of the years of training, and you realize, like, you know, if you're doing the same thing too long, it's going to add up in this repetitive stress, which is inevitably going to make it to the joints. So just to keep it going and be energetic about it and still have, you know, passion for it, you have to adjust things along the way.
Yeah, totally. Speaking of strong, all right, did you guys see that video on social media of the shoplifter?
Oh, the old lady?
Yeah, okay, so there's a dude who fills up his shop. I don't know where this is.
Did you see where it's at?
I don't know.
I thought I saw. Did I see Detroit? I thought I saw it. I tried to research where it was at. I was curious.
It's one of those cities where they've changed the laws. They do this in San Francisco, where if you steal under $900 and something, they no longer treat it. It's not like a punishable offense like it used to be. And so what happens is they steal $900 worth of stuff, so it's under the limit.
So now you're inviting crime.
Oh yeah, and so then the cops will take them in, they'll write them up, and they're right back out the next day.
Yeah, this dude was literally filled up his shopping cart, had his bike.
Yep.
As he's walking the store, walked right out.
He had a mask on, like a full mask.
And a dude, first of all, nobody's stopping him, and a dude is following him with his phone, and is like, "Hey, are you gonna leave with that? Are you gonna leave with that? Whatever." Nobody's doing anything. Who steps up?
Yeah.
An old lady rips the mask off his face,
like a 70-year-old lady too.
Dude, I love. I mean, she played. It was a big risk for her, right? Because she's an old lady, but she didn't give a shit.
It was great. She got a hold of the cart too. She wouldn't let go. He eventually had to he grabbed his backpack and he left. He left the stuff. He didn't even take it.
Fuck you, motherfucker.
Yeah, so great.
Absolutely.
How ridiculous is that though? That we're in a place like that right now where we would put a law out there like that allows people to do that, and then just people are gonna. And what do you expect? I mean, would you think that people aren't going to take advantage of that? You put something out there.
You want to
like
hear something crazy? Okay, so San Francisco.
It's asinine.
San Francisco is it's only an hour away from where we're at. I have family members that live there, and I've seen the city with some of these crazy laws just go downhill. Okay.
Yeah.
The car theft has gotten so bad because they'll smash your window and grab stuff.
Yeah.
And it's gotten so bad. This is no joke now.
Yeah.
People literally leave their windows open with nothing in the car, so at least the windows don't get smashed. Yeah. Or they'll put a sign in the car, nothing in here with the windows open, so that because if you park on the street and there's anything in your car, a car charger, pair of sunglasses, a candy bar,
smash grab,
they will smash through the window and take it, and there's really nothing's really happening.
Yeah, San Francisco's turned into like what New York subways were like in the 80s and 90s, right? Where it used to be like
everybody got mugged.
Yeah, where it's just like normal, right? To get mugged anytime you were on the subway.
The 70s was
it's
really
like,
bad.
Come on, can we learn from our mistakes? Like, look what had to happen to clean all that up. It had to be like a super authoritarian, aggressive approach when you could have just been reasonable and kept like law and order.
Dude, I told you guys, I've told this story many times. My brother was in a CVS in San Francisco because he lives there, and two people walked in, filled up garbage bags with the stuff from CVS, literally just filled it up, and he's watching them, and he's like, what are they doing? Yeah. He had no idea. He was new to the city. This was a while ago. They filled it up. They walked out of the store, and he was like, what? Nobody's going to say anything? And he walked and followed them to see. They went around the corner, and then they had like these,
laid it all out.
They had these rugs on the floor.
Yeah, like a Tijuana.
They laid out the deodorant and the toothpaste and the toothbrushes, and they were selling them. That's a business plan, if you ask me.
Oh yeah.
Our margins are 100%.
I mean, and I don't know, like I don't get that mad at the person who's doing that. Right? I just feel like you put something in place like that, and if they're in a place where they're in need, they don't have money and they have a hard time, like, why would you not take advantage of that rule? That's such a stupid law.
You know what worries me about this is that at some point, because what happens is there's hardworking, quiet people, right? They take care of the family, they take care of themselves, and they're typically not loud, and they sit aside and they wait and they wait and they wait, and then you get these little cracks like the old lady. Mm-hmm. I've had enough of this, right? And shit starts to happen. Mm-hmm. Could you, God forbid, I'm so glad this didn't happen, but could you imagine that video instead showed the old lady try to stop him and he beat the crap out of her?
Exactly.
What the response would have been, right? So that's the thing that kind of
hopefully the dude who's recording put his phone down and go whoop his ass. I mean, I would hope that guy would have some sort of integrity and do that.
Gosh. I can't even.
Yeah.
I can't even believe.
But it's a sad state when you need to have an old lady like save the day.
It's true. That's true.
That's got to speak volumes to where we're at.
Think about another thing is sad. You just remind me of something. I read an article today that, did you know that over 35% of people report loneliness right now?
Wow.
That's
a lot, dude.
I know. It's a lot of people, dude. Isn't that crazy?
Really?
Yeah. This article was attached to something else I was reading that said that last year, over $343 million was reported in romantic scams online.
Scams of
$343
preying on
million.
loneliness?
Yes.
Wow. That's sad.
And so that was a large increase from the previous year, which was like around 2-something or 300 million, and so it's on the rise. And they predict that a lot of that has to do with COVID.
In terms of catfishing people.
Yeah, finding people that, as they said, they prey on Facebook and dating sites and everything like that, and woo you online, and then normally have some sort of hey, I need help with this, or I got this, and they always want a couple bucks after they've built that relationship and then try and scan.
You know
the
what's
money.
tough about that is to get to like back out of loneliness, it takes kind of work.
Yeah, and you talk about
You gotta
setting
be
that person.
vulnerable, put yourself out there.
Yeah, you got to go out.
Yeah.
Potentially, someone might not like you. You have to put yourself in situations where you're with people, and life is made so easily to where you don't have to do anything. You don't have to leave your house, and you can do everything that you quote unquote need to do.
Yeah.
And then you have this false sense of maybe kind of placates you a little bit. Oh, I talk to people online, and we go back and forth a little bit and whatever. But loneliness is a big deal for humans. It's so important that we have connections with others.
Yeah.
They connect that to poor health outcomes, worse than smoking cigarettes and doing stuff like that. So I wonder how we would change. That's a cultural shift. There's really nothing we can do, right? That's a cultural thing.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like, there's arguments, right, on this whole like metaverse, and then that we're more connected today than we ever were with Facebook and Instagram and things like that. But then I don't know. Like, I don't know
How
if that
beneficial is it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's examples of somebody where the ability to connect on Facebook or on these platforms has been life-changing for them. But I don't know. I think I would argue that there's more people that it's disconnecting or keeping from interacting in person. And I just think that there's something that we don't fully grasp.
We're losing something.
You know how we talked the other day about the all eating whole foods? It's like we're so arrogant sometimes. Like we take a little bit of research and study that we have learned and we know this.
This
and
shake has everything real food has. We don't know everything yet.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's like, oh no, studies show or research shows that we're more connected today than we ever were. It's like, well, are we really? I mean, yeah, I can pull up my phone and I can talk to my family across the country, which I couldn't do like a long time ago, which is really cool.
Which is cool. But that doesn't replace like real face-to-face connection.
Yeah.
Well, don't they have studies like about human touch and the value of that? Like,
oh, dude, there was this terrible Soviet era.
Yeah,
study.
remember the one where they purposely didn't touch the kids for like a long time?
Yeah, they had a bunch of orphans, and one half
Can't
of the
imagine
orphans,
conducting that.
the nurses fed them, but also played with them and held them, and then the other half they just fed them.
They did it with siblings too, right? Didn't they like do that? Like
twins.
Come from twins in the same family, and then the one was just like no love, no attention.
Oh, they failed to thrive. Mental disorders. They had weird physical disorders as a result.
Yeah.
Like we're super social. You know what it's a cultural issue because historically, the way that cultures have connected, and I know I'm going to irritate people when I say this, but it's very true, was religious practice. It really was. Now, I'm not saying that's the only way to do it, obviously, but as religious practice becomes less and less a part of the average person's life, we're not replacing it with something else where we meet up with people and we're trying to do something together and do that kind of thing. So it's like you took that out and, okay, for whatever reason, what do you replace? Like how often on a weekly basis do you meet up with other families and other people to try to connect over something?
Yeah, I'm wondering if the metaverse is going to drive a bigger wedge in that, or it's going to help mend that somehow. What's interesting? Talking about the metaverse. So I'm I've now.
Some people love it when you bring up the metaverse, huh?
Oh yeah, I have 50-50 by the way. So I already know half the people listening right now. I'm pissing off because they're like, "Oh, you talk about the metaverse." The other half of people are like, "I'm so interested."
Yeah.
So those that don't care, then you can tune out. Whatever. I'm very interested. I'm curious.
It's brand new. I mean, we're trying to make sense of it.
So check this out. So I'm playing this game with I got it from my best friend for it was a late Christmas gift because I hadn't seen him since Christmas. And so I got it for him. This is my childhood best friend, and I'm like, selfishly, it's because I want to play with him. I want him to connect, and we could do stuff, right? So we got this one game, and it's called Population 1, which is like a first-person shooter type of game. But they have these like lobbies. So the way I come in the game, like you come in and you have like these like shooting ranges where you go practice, learn how to use all the weapons. Now here's what's trippy. Okay, so this is and you come in, right? It's full 360. You guys have experienced it.
You're in the VR.
Yeah, right. So I'm in, and I can see you can see all these avatars, people walking around, little bubble above their head and stuff like that with their name, and you see them all over, and I can like faintly hear them talking. And as I approach them, the conversation becomes more clear until I'm standing next to them. And then they can hear me and I can hear them, and we're having a conversation.
Are these real people?
Yes.
Oh wow.
So they've designed it like real life, where if you were in a club or you were in a place, you would hear this kind of
background noise.
Yeah, background
until
noise
you
of
get to
talking until you got within earshot distance. You wouldn't be able to make out what they say. Then when you're in earshot, you would be able to hear them and they would be able to hear you clearly.
That's a trip.
It is wild.
That's weird.
Yeah, last night I was exploring the ability to watch the NBA game live. So last night I thought this was the one that I was going to be able to go and watch the Warriors play. It wasn't until the 7th, so I was wrong. But it's an app, and I go in, and it's a lobby. And it was a trip. So I get in this lobby, and there's live WWF that's going on right now. There's a music concert over here that's going on now. And they have big screens and doorways to walk to. And there's people all walking around. And I'm like randomly trying to get in this room. And this guy's like, "Are you trying to get in the game too?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'm trying to get in the game. I can't figure out how to do it." He's like, "Yeah, I'm here for the Warriors game too." I'm like, "Yeah, me too." But we're like talking and conversing, then you move just 10 feet over, he can't hear me anymore, and now I'm near another group and going in these different rooms. All of a sudden I drop in, I'm at a live WWF event, and I'm standing and the view is like I'm almost in the ring, but I'm watching the live event happen right there in front of me. It's a trip.
That is interesting. It's funny because I remember I was playing ping pong when we were up in Truckee, and you were showing me it, and this guy was just playing with me, a real guy, right? Back and forth. And then all of a sudden he stops and you could hear this little voice like, "Dad, I need like this snack or whatever." He's like, "Hold on, I'm playing a game." And then he's like talking to her. He's like, "I'm sorry, man. Hold on a second." And I'm like, "Yeah, no problem. Deal with whatever."
Did I tell you guys what my other buddy just did, what he did playing ping pong? So when I first got it for him, and he's in the room. And he's like, "Oh, dude, this is so sick." He's like getting all to it. It's his first experience doing it. Yeah. He fucking falls because he tries to put his hand on the virtual table. The ball goes rolling over.
Because it looks like a solid real table. Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's going to happen.
He gets
all
up,
the time.
he's like, "Oh, shit." He's like, "The table's not really there."
Oh, wow.
That's how real it is, though. I mean,
you do really get into it. It's
that's so weird. What we want is the benefits without the risks. You know what I mean?
We're eliminating a lot of the risks.
And the problem is we don't understand the real value that comes from the risks and all that stuff, right? So we want none of that. We just want it's like an exercise or fitness pill. Like if you take a pill, they can make you fit and lean. You solve some of the problems, but there's a whole
anything.
There's a whole sea of issues that you never solved that you would have got by going through the process.
Well, when I see these stats, like that's why I kind of brought this up, right? The loneliness thing, and like with depression and like anxiety, and a lot of this stuff is people get this from public places, or they feel insecure about the way they look or whatever condition they may have. I think it's going to help a lot of those people. I really do. And I think that's how we're going to get sold as a population on why it's so good.
Yeah, because there's real benefits, I'm sure.
Right. So I think we're going to be able to connect real benefits for some people. Some people, it may be life-changing for them. Someone who is so scared to go out in public and socialize anyways, and is crippling insecurities about the way they look, now they get to create whatever they want. They can be, an animal. They can be, a big guy, a little guy, a skinny guy, a buff guy, whatever you want as your avatar that you project for other people to see. You decide what that is, and you get to interact, and you get to unplug when you don't want it no more.
You know what the irony is? We may be.
I want to be a liger.
Yeah. What?
Yeah. Just a big, fierce liger.
Do you know ligers are typically dumb and they can't reproduce with each other?
I thought they weren't real. They're not real.
No, they're real.
They're
Are
huge.
they?
They're huge, yeah.
I thought in Napoleon Dynamite when he was drawing that, he was kidding.
There's one where it's a male tiger and a female lion, and one where there's a male lion and a female tiger.
But they can't reproduce.
One's a tiger, one's a liger, and the other one's a Tyon, I think. There's two different ones.
Oh, the Tyon.
And
I did not know that was
Go
a
ahead,
thing.
Doug. Read that. What
it's
do
a
you got?
Tygon.
Tygon. So one of them is big. I think it's a liger. It's
sure.
like it's bigger than a lion and a tiger.
It's just like fat.
They're massive, but they're often dumb and kind of slow, and they can't reproduce. They can't. Yeah. Look how big it is. What's the size there, Doug?
Let's see here. It is over 800 pounds, over 900 pounds.
And how much is a normal? Because tigers are bigger than lions. What are they normally?
Yeah, female lion is about let's say 300 to 400 pounds.
A tiger.
A male tiger is 350 to 500 pounds.
Whoa, wow, so a lot big, like double.
So,
yeah.
So that's to make a Tygon. Okay, so that's a male tiger and a female lion make a Tygon.
Okay.
A male lion, which gets up to 500 pounds, and a female tiger They don't have a weight for the female tiger.
She doesn't want to. That's rude.
Yeah.
You can't ask
Exactly.
those questions. Yeah.
She'll eat you.
It's rude.
That creates a liger, which can weigh more than 900 pounds.
So the liger is the biggest?
The biggest.
That's the bottom one, right?
No, the top one.
Oh, the top
big,
one. The one
fat,
that looks
lazy
more
one.
like a lion is a liger.
No, the one that looks more like a lion is a tigon.
Yeah.
That looks more with the mane. Has a little
Don't
bit
mix
of
them up, bro.
Okay,
It has
anyway.
stripes.
Well, am I looking at this correctly? The animal on the far left is the end product, or is it the
No,
No, the
no,
far
far
right
right.
is the end
Far
product.
right's in product.
far right.
So we got a lion. So they
plus tiger equals
Doug, look up an actual picture of which one's the
Liger.
biggest one, the liger.
the liger's the biggest.
Look up an actual picture of it. These things are massive, but they're often dumb.
I didn't even know they were a thing.
Like they say that they're like not as smart. They can't reproduce, so you can't take two ligers and make baby ligers.
That's weird.
You know what? It's like what's a mule? Isn't a mule a donkey and a
it's
horse?
Like interspecies. Yeah, it's. I don't know how.
Look how big they are.
Yeah.
Isn't a mule like a donkey and a horse, and then you can't have two mules mate. They can't mate, right? Because they become
Right.
sterile. Something
Because
like
it's
that.
the two recessive genes, or something like that.
I have no
I
idea.
don't
We
know.
sound like
I'm not a
we
genetic.
sound like idiots right now, but
Yeah.
I
I do
it's something
cows
like-
and chickens.
I'm guessing.
I don't know about that
Did
stuff.
you know that I want to say the Nazis, they did some weird experiments there's a conspiracy theory that they successfully created a human monkey or ape hybrid. And there's pictures of this, and it looks weird.
What?
You never seen this?
No.
Dude,
Doug.
now we're getting into Alex Jones
Dude,
territory.
what magazines are you guys subscribing to?
I haven't
Well, they
read
got
a
the
magazine.
embryos,
What's-
and that's been a fact. So they've
What are
created
you guys
embryos of
reading?
that.
Oh, there's the mule. See, donkey stallion mating with the female horse, and I don't know if they can reproduce.
No,
with
they
each other.
cannot have babies.
They can't have babies. Doug, look up the human ape Nazi.
Where did you get a random fact like that? That's
the
pretty
human
good.
ape Nazi hybrid? and I love. Hey, Doug's like
I look at all this stuff too.
He's so on an NSA list. You know what I mean? Like, this guy's looking at weird shit, dude. Oh yeah, look.
Oh, dude.
Oh no, maybe it was Stalin. Was it Stalin that did it?
Stalin's ape man.
It's one of those
yeah.
those shit fucks or whatever, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
But there's a picture
That'll
of this like monkey that they speculate was like part human. Maybe look at images, Doug.
Yeah.
Yeah, see if we can find. Oh no, that's not. That's it right there. Humanzi.
yeah.
Humanzi.
Humanzi.
Yeah.
That's creepy, dude.
Looks weird, dude. Yeah, but obviously you can't. I mean, you can't cross them. Something has to happen or whatever. Wasn't that the theory of HIV? That's how HIV came to be. Was a person. The main theory is a person had sex with a monkey.
Yeah.
I thought that
but
was
then there
wrong.
or they
I thought
were
that was wrong.
eating.
That wasn't wrong. I thought they made that up.
No,
They're eating monkey parts, or
I think that's the
don't
main.
remember.
I think that's the main
Way out
theory.
of our
They're
right now.
exposed to. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know much about this.
Yeah,
this is this is a
We
good
need
time.
we need to have your.
I will say this though, you're contributing quite a bit. I notice how sharp you are. Have you been drinking
It's the-
Organifi Pure?
Yeah, it's where I just finished
The
my,
voice of reason over there.
my pure a minute ago. So it's
I love it when you drink Pure. I can always tell 20 minutes later. Adam's excited.
way
wait a minute, you
sharper
guys
with
still
those
make sense.
Conspiracy theories. Yeah.
Oh, look at this. HIV crossed from chimps to humans in the 1920s. That's the theory. That was the theory. This was probably as a result of chimps carrying the simian immunodeficiency virus, SIV, a virus closely related to HIV, being hunted and eaten by people living in the area.
Jumped
Okay.
into the human species.
Okay, so humans ate the monkey. They didn't have
yeah,
sex
that's what I
with it.
thought. See,
Okay.
okay, I was right.
I
And
thought
that
they
makes
had
more
some-
sense because people have been eating like monkey brains for a long time, right? That's like a thing.
Dude.
Right, and then like was it prions is like a thing too. Like you eat like brains and you could ingest those, which are toxic for you.
Was it what movie was that? Was
Indiana
that
Jones.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
monkey brains on the
Oh,
top.
like crack in the head. yeah, it
Oh
was
my
disturbing.
god.
And they eating it like it was like some kind of Jello or something.
Dude,
Ooh.
humans eat weird stuff, dude.
I know, I
we eat
can't-
really weird stuff.
can't do it.
Yeah, but anyway, I do like the energy that you have, Adam. It always makes me want to take more Pure.
Thanks.
Like if this works on Adam.
You know what else you'll like? And,
What will I like?
That the NFL just dropped $1 million on more research around cannabis.
Oh,
Well,
cannabinoids.
Did you see that?
I did.
Yeah, it's
So to
That's
prevent
pretty cool.
what is it called? CTE?
yeah. I think that and
I mean,
all
that's
just
part of it.
recovery and just as I foresee it becoming an accepted form of medication for the athletes.
You know
Look out when that happens, dude. Holy shit. I mean, first of all, if they do that, then they're going to have to get rid of any sort of like marijuana of like rules and laws.
Testing,
they have.
right?
Yeah, they'll have to abolish that, which that should be gone
it's
anyways.
Not really. I mean, how are you going to like attribute that to a performance enhancement?
New Super Bowl sponsor, Frito Lay's.
It's like,
Just think for a second though,
Lucky Charms.
how big? Okay, right? Remember 7-8 years ago when we first started this thing, we were talking early about cannabis, a lot earlier than anybody in the space.
I read cannabinoid research on how it prevents the brain inflammation, how it prevents issues with the brain after concussion. I read that
like
a long time ago.
Neuroprotective qualities to it.
Right.
Yes.
So
yes.
we were talking. My point was that we've been talking about this for a really long time, a lot longer than most people, and definitely in our space, have been talking about this. And we've watched the explosion of this space and the growth of it, and the billions of dollars that are getting. Wait until an organization like the NFL gets behind it and says that it is a form of recovery medication or accepted by them, and they get rid of the bans.
Dude, look out. Let's just back up for a second and let's just talk about this, because this has to be one of the funniest stories of all time, right? So smoking weed gives you lung cancer. There's more carcinogens in weed smoke than there is cigarettes. 1974, they did a study. The government did a study on this to connect cannabis smoke to lung cancer so they can hit the nail in the coffin, tell everybody, stop the study halfway through, because lo and behold, there was a cancer protective effect. Yeah. What the hell is going on? Let's stop that real quick. Oh, by the way, cannabis is going to be public enemy number 1 because all the protesters smoke weed. Now we can throw them in jail for something. Yeah. Stop all studies. Oh, it's bad for your brain. Wait a minute. Studies are showing cannabinoids are neuroprotective. This is really strange. Oh, it doesn't cause cancer. It might actually have some anti-cancer effects. This
brings
is really
about
weird.
New perspective on things.
Very,
That's
very
dangerous.
Very, very strange. Or anything can be abused, of course. But you want to talk about a
180.
Oh, more than that. It's like the propaganda against cannabis was so heavy that, and then you come back with some of these opposite, truths that are coming out. Man, it's
to me, we're only a couple years now away from seeing cannabis commercials on Super Bowl and stuff. It's around the corner. Dude, it's coming.
You must wonder like how the boomers are dealing with all this. Like that's been like, that must be like shell shock to see like all this like marijuana promoted everywhere.
Okay, for at least in my circle, my family, like it. So when I got into it, right? God, that was over 10 years, roughly 10 years, maybe ago now.
Maybe more.
Maybe a little bit more now. So. Boy, was it was uncomfortable.
Super stigmatized.
Oh, yeah. It was very uncomfortable for me to even I left a 6-figure 401k benefit job that I was good at and had like all kinds of security around. And I go, oh, yeah, I'm going to go do this medical marijuana thing. It was a really uncomfortable conversation with most of my family and friends because of the stigma that was around it. So to see where it's at today, and I would say now,
and it's 100% the product of decades of false government propaganda. 100%. Like I'm watching, what was I watching last night? I'm watching a series on Netflix with Jessica, and this housewife, every scene with her, she's got a big ass glass of wine, morning, afternoon, evening, and nobody makes a big deal about it. And I'm like, it's funny how you can do that. Or you can invite someone over for a glass of wine, or you could tell someone you own a vineyard and like, wow, that's great. That's really cool,
Yeah.
Or it could be like, oh, I own medical marijuana crops and we sell, or I own, forget medical marijuana. I own a bunch of marijuana crops and I sell them in dispensaries and, people whispering behind your back or whatever. Or what if we saw the same show and the mom was having a hit of a joint? Not saying you should be smoking weed all day long or drinking alcohol all day, but it is funny how because of the propaganda, our perception is totally different.
I tell you, being honest, it was a big reason, not the only reason, but a big reason why I left the space was it was a shot to my ego that I wasn't getting the credit for what I had built. I was proud of myself. Like I knew what I had accomplished and what we had built, and during that time was a really scary time to do that. And I failed a lot. I lost a lot of money along the process. I had to read a ton to learn myself. So I had a lot of like self-belief and very proud of what I had accomplished. But nobody else. If I told anybody else what I did, I was like, oh, of course, you're in drugs.
Yeah, you're still in drugs.
You're in drugs. So it's like. Right. damn, really? Like, because I had to apply all the things I'd learned in business in order to be successful at this thing.
I sell craft beer. Wow, that's really cool.
Right. So
And you have a cool mustache too.
it started to bother me after a few years of being in it and having success in it, that I felt that I wasn't respected as a real entrepreneur or somebody that had built something that grand and big. If I would have done it in beer or anything else, people would have been like, holy cow, look what you did.
To me, the lesson in this is not that weed is great, cannabis is the best thing ever. No, I think there's some real cool potentials there medically. I think it could also be abused just like anything else. I think the moral of the story is this. It is very hard to be objective and keep your mind open when you've been hammered with propaganda. And much of our perception is
shedding the propaganda. It takes a long time.
Oh, it totally does.
And that's what I'm always afraid of, when everybody's so convinced, something is true.
Dude, meanwhile, we're prescribing methamphetamines to children,
right?
And straight up heroin to people when they get knee surgery, right? In pill form, which I know there's applications for that. So I'm just saying, nobody bats an eye half the time for something like that. Very weird.
This is why my prediction for the next big one to fall like that, or to like become mainstream popular, is hormone replacement therapy.
Oh yeah.
I believe that
talk about something
destigmatizing it.
Yes, dude.
Very
same
slowly.
thing.
Yeah.
Totally. Testosterone so stigmatized.
Even the transition from it being this black market, stereotype, the stigma around it, to now it works. Now they have these little clinics, and then some people are like all skeptical still about it, and like the information, the education around it slowly coming out. To me, it looks exactly, if we weren't doing this,
it's very parallel.
And I had some money to go throw at a clinic and do that and invest in it.
Oh, it's gonna explode.
I would jump all over that. Just what we got going on, we got too much going on here as it is. But as far as like seeing the writing on the wall, the same way I saw with cannabis when I got into that 10 plus years ago.
No, you're 100% right.
HRT, same way.
Isn't this a case of something that works too well?
Yes.
Right? So you want to kind of pull back. It's like, we don't want to give everybody access to this, and we don't want like pro athletes using it, and we don't want, because this is just an unfair advantage.
No, I try to keep an open mind, right? I try to be objective, and I felt the stigma. When I got my hormone test back and my testosterone came back real low, and I had to face the reality that I'm going to be on TRT if I want to feel okay, and it's healthier for me to be on testosterone than it is for me to be low testosterone. I felt am I not man enough? My testosterone's low. Am I not? I'm going to be taking
People are going to judge me.
People are going to judge me. Now, had it been insulin or thyroid
or
any
other hormone,
anything else,
the irony.
Anyone
no
else.
problem, right? Birth control, that's estrogen or progesterone based, right? No problem.
Yep.
And the irony of it is very much similar to cannabis. Of all the hormones that you can inject yourself with,
the safest.
The one that you almost can't overdose on, you'll get side effects and all that stuff, but you gave yourself a big ass 1,000 milligram dose of testosterone, you're not going to die. You try that with insulin or thyroid or any other hormone that we use medicinally, and you'll die.
Yeah.
You'll kill yourself.
That's where it's just like marijuana. It's just like there's so many positive benefits. There's extremely low risk around it. And so it was inevitable that eventually it was going to break through, and enough people would find out.
Granted, in terms of like being parallel to marijuana too, though, like having it like not accessible for like youth, or like how that actually like interrupts the developmental process, is probably not something we want, to trickle down on that level. But at the same time, you're adults, right? This is something that we shouldn't like hammer people about if it actually provides a lot of benefit.
No, you know that your cancer risk is up, heart disease risk is up, your brain degeneration type diseases are higher if your testosterone is low and out of range versus if it's high and in range. So it's actually healthy for you. And like someone like me who had everything dialed in, life-changing. Like it completely changed how I felt. And I'm like, man, I wish I went and got tested earlier and did this, because I feel so much better. It's completely life-changing. So,
well, and I think another reason why I think it's going to explode too is just never in my career have I received as many messages and comments about younger men struggling with low testosterone than what I have in the last decade.
Yeah,
right.
So I've seen that accelerate. And then look at the forum. We have a free private forum for the Mind Pump Hormones, right? So we have the Mind Pump Hormones forum that you can access for. and look how fast that's exploded. Look at the activity that's in there. There's obviously a lot of people that are curious or have had their blood work and seen how low they are. So this is going to continue
a lot
to
of
go.
women in there too.
Oh,
Very
yeah.
interesting.
That's another thing.
Oh, testosterone is not just for men.
Super interesting,
No,
yeah.
it's obviously at a much lower dose for women, but women get the same benefits that men do when they're low and they go on. They obviously, you respond better to exercise, you have more energy, you feel healthier, inflammation's down, the list goes on and on. So I'm 100% with you. I think that market's totally shifting and changing, and the stigma is going to start to change, especially because testosterone deficiency is a growing problem that we've seen now for the last 4 or 5 decades, actually. We've been measuring this. So I don't think this is going to be just like I think it's going to be more mainstream than people realize.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that.
Speaking of science and studies and stuff, I wanted to actually for Adam, I want to tell you about this. I read something very fascinating that I did not know about, because I know you have some autoimmune stuff with your skin. I have gut issues that I feel like are also kind of connected to some autoimmune stuff, right?
Yeah.
I read some very interesting studies on your gums, inflammation, and how that can lead to autoimmune type issues. So I've been reading some studies on this. First off, if your gums are inflamed, bacteria enters through the gums and can wreak havoc in your body. So heart disease risk goes up, stroke risk goes up, and autoimmune issues tend to go up.
Interesting.
And so I started to go on forums, and there were people talking about how they got their gums less inflamed and how their autoimmune issues started to kind of go down.
So what do you do to get your gums less? Obviously diet.
So diet, for some people that's reducing grains,
Like
obviously
water picks
water picks, flossing, antiseptic mouthwash will do that as well. Oh, that's what led me to that. So I was reading studies on using antiseptic mouthwash to prevent viral load in the throat for COVID and other respiratory diseases.
That's what I was reading about too. Yeah.
Yeah, and so basically there's some few studies, and they're doing more stuff on this, where if people did a nasal rinse with like iodine, or there's grapefruit seed extract that does this as well, and then they gargle with like a antiseptic mouthwash like Listerine or whatever.
Okay.
And they do that twice a day, that the viral load gets so low that oftentimes they don't get the infection. So the virus enters in, isn't able to replicate, and they don't get an infection.
Eliminate it, yeah.
So that led me down this kind of rabbit hole of other stuff that, antiseptic mouth, because they've been around forever. Antiseptic mouthwash is like one of the first over-the-counter medications. I think it's been around since the 1800s. And then I read this, that there's a connection between gum inflammation and autoimmune disease. And I was like, what the hell? Why didn't I know this? But it makes perfect sense, right? That's bacterial enter through your bloodstream, through your gums.
I mean, that's got to be why it is, right?
Yes.
And so what comes first, the inflammation in the gums or the entry of the bacteria into the...
Well, that's part of why you get inflamed, right?
Yeah.
Because your gums are inflamed, so then they're no longer a barrier. They're open. A little bit of bacteria gets in there. Bacteria gets in your bloodstream. And if you're prone to autoimmune issues, it's like sending a signal to your immune system, attack. And it becomes hypervigilant.
Did you know that the last COVID strain, Omicron, right? That's so the last one was, I didn't know this. My buddy, he got it, I got it, and we were talking about different symptoms, and he was like, "Yeah, I knew I had it when my mouth," and he starts talking about, and I was like, "Oh shit, I didn't even notice that." But one of the side effects from Omicron is like a lot of mouth sores.
Yeah, I did read about that.
And I
got one.
Yeah, I just didn't feel good in general, and that wasn't something I was thinking about. But then I remembered, like, oh my god, that whole week I was like biting on my, when you get something irritating you in your mouth and you're like biting at it or picking at it with your tongue or whatever. I'm like, oh shit, my whole mouth felt like it was tore up. It felt like I chewed on glass or something. Like, it was a really weird feeling. And he said that was really common with Omicron. So imagine if you were somebody who was consistently mouthwashing every single day. I wonder if they have anything right now to connect the people's symptoms that are like really, really consistent with doing that. Yeah. And if that would have actually mitigated some of the...
No, because it's preventative.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. That shit right
Heaven forbid I say that. I know. We got to slap a warning label on this now.
Just got flagged because it's outside the norm.
Hey, Adam, you're going to be proud of me, by the way.
Oh, what'd you do?
So this weekend, you know how I can be kind of weird about buying things sometimes? Just because just the way I was raised.
We were just about to buy... Can I interrupt? We were about to buy a $99 earpiece. And so, do we really need that? Really, bro? bro? $100? It's a write-off?
No, because
That's how cheap.
works.
That's how cheap he is right there.
You just want to burn money? So throw it up in the air. You want to burn
Go
it?
ahead, finish your story.
No, the one we have
I just
works.
wanted to highlight how your point you were making right there.
Anyway.
Like, that's how it's that consistent. That was today.
The mattress that I've had for I've had a mattress for the last 7 years, and I never really paid attention to that. It just kind of sucks.
Yeah.
So I was at Living Spaces, and I'm like, well, you know what? Let's look at these really nice mattresses. And I go up there. I never really paid attention to this.
Yeah.
I'm laying on this. Oh my God, what a difference. I'm like, oh my God. But mattresses are expensive?
Oh,
Yeah,
they're
bro.
real expensive.
It's like $4 grand
for
a really good
where
mattress.
you spend the majority of your time, and
Yeah.
it's important to get awesome sleep.
Oh, it is.
Right?
Dude.
So it's
I got myself a really nice mattress.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm going to put the ChiliPAD on it and just have just some amazing sleep. You know?
Now, okay, so
And I thought about you because I know you always tell the story of that. That was the first big purchase you made.
life-changing for me. The match, that's why too your sleep, or for me, okay, we talk all about like, preparing for sleep, and we talk about the blue light, and we talk about all those things. A good mattress and a cool mattress to me, so a really nice mattress with a combination of the Chili, which by the way are all expensive. A really nice mattress costs you $4 to $10 grand easily. A ChiliPAD's not cheap if you get the two sides that are controlled, so it's a bit of an investment. But the way I look at it, it's like, one, I won't have to get another mattress for 10 years, so I want to reinvest in that again.
That's true.
Hopefully the Uller continues working for me beyond 10 years, and so I'm set. And it's something that you spend a good majority of your life doing, is laying in that.
No,
thing.
you're right.
I'm in a better mood more often. That was a benefit for me, upgrading. So that was a big thing. Did you guys see? So speaking of like mattresses and pillows and that whole thing, dude, there's just been this whole movement towards like pillow fighting.
Yes.
What is that?
Competitively.
Yeah.
I'm trying to wrap my brain around
That's not
why
the kind of
even,
pillow. That's not the kind of pillow fighting I want to
So
watch.
it's
Yeah,
gone-
exactly. Like make it like sexy or
So
something.
it's gone viral. I don't know. Maybe Andrew's normally up on the younger trendy things. You know what's going on with that or no? So it's on my questions, I got asked that today or yesterday about like us all pillow fighting, like we would get in a pillow fight.
Stupid, dude.
So and I saw
asking this question?
I saw
Yeah.
on
Can you guys take your shirts
Yeah,
off?
just be in your underwear
And hit
just
each other with
really
pillows?
I saw on Barstool
each other.
Sports. I saw on ESPN. Like they actually had like two dudes in a ring with pillows and like a match.
They were like serious and like oops, like why? Like ow, stop it.
I don't know, man.
Steven.
When I was little, when I was younger,
You look at professional pillow fighting comes to a TV near you. That's
really?
on CNBC.
I mean, come on.
It's
dude.
so dumb, dude.
I remember
The new pillow fight trend.
when I was a kid, because I have younger siblings, I'd get in a pillow fight with my younger brother, who's a lot younger than me, and I'd let him hit me a bunch of times, and then I'd just, you get the pillow where most of the weight is at the end. 'Cause it's all
You end
crunched
up like your fist ends up hitting him because like it goes through the pillow.
Oh,
So
and
so when something like this happens, I'm always so curious about the origin, right? There's got to be somebody who was famous or has a large following who did something funny or created a skit or something,
Right.
and then it goes viral, and then everybody.
How do you win?
And who doesn't?
I know. How did this evolve into a sport? That is trippy.
This is nothing, dude. I've seen one. Did you see the arm wrestling MMA one? Did you see that one?
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
arm
yeah,
wrestling,
yeah. Oh, yeah,
and the
yeah,
other guy,
yeah, yeah.
they get to punch each other in the face.
My favorite is the boxing, and then in between rounds they have to play chess.
What?
Yeah, dude.
Oh, that's funny.
Isn't that messed up? You're just trying to get the cognition.
I don't know
to what's
pull
going
that
on.
off.
Oh, dude,
That's
that'd
No,
be
if you ever want to watch crazy fighting stuff, watch Russian leagues.
They get down, dude.
Bro,
That
they
was
have
on that Netflix series
so,
that you had us
like,
watch, right?
crazy.
no.
Yeah.
Yes, but no.
Oh,
They have
not that-
Russian. I've seen Russian leagues where they'll have 5 versus 5,
Yes.
or it's like a gang fight.
Or they'll have like platforms that
you can jump
You
on
can
and-
jump on the platform and off, so you have high ground, and
Yeah.
then you smash.
There was
somebody on the
one where
bottom.
they were using, this is true now, full armor and iron and metal weapons.
Yeah.
Full.
like medieval, dude, just weapons, hitting each
Swords
other.
and shields, and they're blasting each other with that. I'm like, wow, dude.
like respect, dude. Like they're living hard. out
Russia does not mess around
Yeah.
when it comes to and then here in the U.S. we have pillow fighting.
there. Yeah, we got pillow fight here. Why does that not make perfect
Damn,
sense?
dude, we're looking soft lately, dude.
Jeez.
Hey, look, do you want to find a better way to absorb your vitamins and minerals? Okay. Oftentimes we take supplements. They have the vitamins and minerals inside of them, but because of the digestive process, because of the complicated way our bodies absorb nutrients, it just doesn't get absorbed. We actually pee it out and it's wasted. Now, we work with a company called Live On Labs. They use a liposomal technology delivery system, right? This was developed for pharmaceutical companies. So what does that mean? That means when you take their B complex, for example, or their glutathione, for example, or any of their other products, your body will absorb more of it. You actually feel a difference. I take their products and I notice a difference over taking other multivitamin type formulas. Again, they use a technology designed for pharmaceutical companies. They are legit. Go check them out. By the way, if you get any of their products through our code, you actually will get a sample of all 6 of the products for free. So what you want to do is you want to go to mindpumppartners.com, click on Live On Labs, and there you go. Order one product, get a free sample of all 6 of their products. All right, here's the rest of the show.
Our first caller is Colin from Washington.
Hey, what's up, Colin? How can we help you?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good.
So I had a few questions, but my first one is EMS, electromuscle stimulation training, safe and effective?
Okay, so first off, why are you asking this question? Are you using this to rehab an injury or
Build muscle.
Yeah, like what's the context
You
here?
see a cool ad?
No, so I just saw the new Spider-Man movie, and I afterwards looked up what Tom Holland had done to prepare for the movie, and it looked like part of his regimen was doing that EMS training where you hook up to one of those systems and hold a pose. And I was just kind of wondering about it. I'd only heard of people doing it, but I've never done it.
Save your money, bro.
Yeah,
save
so
your money.
there's a lot of stuff I'm sure he did to get ready for the role. It's probably that probably had the least impact on his physique. So EMS has been around for a while. It's been studied for a long time. I remember reading articles about Bruce Lee using EMS devices. You could buy them, through catalogs back in the day, and every 5 years or so, you'll see EMS
Cyclical.
Yeah, like ab devices, like wear this ab belt and it's like doing 10,000 crutches while you work at your desk and that kind of stuff. And, put this on your butt and it makes it grow. So EMS basically forces a muscle to contract by sending an electrical signal to the muscle. Here's what the studies show. The studies show that it does help prevent some amount of atrophy when you're injured and not moving the muscle. In other words, if your leg's broken and you can't do anything with the leg at all, so you can't contract the muscle at all, really, then EMS may help prevent some level of atrophy, but not an entire level of atrophy. There's also, it might help connect to muscles that maybe you've lost some connection to, but that's more of a kind of a medical issue. Now, as far as like advanced training and building muscle, no, you're gonna, isometrics will do that for you. In fact, generating kind of intrinsic force is going to be way more effective than kind of this external source of force. I know the selling point, right? The selling point is, use this device that's
when
going
you're passive, right? So there's a passive way to stimulate the muscle, which then, they're attributing to muscle growth, which it's really not moving you forward as much as preserving muscle loss from occurring, like for for rehab purposes, but like trying to sell it as a performance device is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, even in the atrophy aspect, it really has a small effect.
I was going to say,
it's better than nothing.
Even that, it's still splitting hairs.
Even then.
I mean, I would use it. Like, so if I broke, like you said, if I broke my leg, these tools are relatively inexpensive, right? So if I knew I couldn't be on my leg for maybe 3 months or whatever the time it would be to heal, I would hook it up to my quads. Why not? I'm sitting there watching TV anyways, and it's like if it's going to slow down atrophy a little bit, so it's a little less. But I mean, I wouldn't expect my quads to stay the same or build by any means. And so, I see some people pitch it too as recovery.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, you got sore the day. Let's say you train.
I guess if you compare it to like sitting, laying on the couch and doing nothing,
right,
then maybe there's some benefit.
So I think that's good to tell Colin, right? So like that, and that's where. And by the way, after we do this, I was going to go on a rant anyways on because I always, whenever I trash something like this, I always get somebody who's like attached to it that wants to defend it. I said, listen, I can sell this shit too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so I could take the information around it and still sell it to people. When we talk to people, we're trying to help people with like real good advice. Here's the thing. If it's like where Sal was just going, if I'm sedentary, I'm doing nothing and I just trained the day before, putting that on my legs versus not doing anything at all, I can show markers of improvement, like speeding up recovery, right? But I would take that and I would say, okay, you get your guy who's hooked up to the EMS. I'm going to take that same guy and I'm going to take him through a 30-minute mobility session.
Yeah.
And I'll show you better
rubber band
results
workout.
with
Not even 5-minute trigger session.
Yeah. Let's just say, but I mean, I will blow those results away with a 30-minute mobility session on that person. Then that guy is hooked up to a machine that cost him a couple $100 to buy. So that's where we will shit on things like this, is that it's like, well, there's a free way to get better results than that thing will provide.
Yeah, and there's, I see how some people are using them now too. Well, they'll get these really strong ones, and they'll attach it to a muscle.
I've seen people doing it when they work out now.
Yeah, they'll put it on your lats while you do like a lat pull down, and it creates this intense muscle contraction, like an intensity amplifier. But there's so many external ways to do that. And I have yet to see anything that really shows that it's got tremendous value. It's also not very pragmatic. Hook yourself up to a big machine while you work out.
Right.
So I don't see lots of applications. So I hope that helped you out, Colin.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate it. And then my other question was, what are the benefits and drawbacks of intermittent fasting? And does eating in a small window affect the absorption of protein in your body?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Some divided doses of protein within a reasonable amount, right? So maybe every 4 hours or so, you'll see in studies will show an increase in muscle protein synthesis. So it's probably a little bit better. I would say it's splitting hairs when you consider the context of, what works better for the person and their lifestyle and all that other stuff. As far as intermittent fasting is concerned, the benefits really boil down to helping people develop a better relationship with food.
And
however, that's a double-edged sword.
I would challenge that for intermittent fasting. I would say I would agree to that with fasting, but intermittent fasting is turned into more of a fad, and it's a window you're still eating, so you could technically. It could have an adverse effect for relationship with food. Instead of you eating throughout the day sporadically, now you eat in this 4 to 6 hour window, and now you binge because of that. So it could promote bad relationship. But what we do promote on the show and talk about is the benefits of doing like a day fast, right? Like fasting from food entirely for the day, and not for the benefits of what everything it does for, regenerations of neurons and growth hormone production and blah, blah, blah. That there's a bunch of stuff that the real benefit is disciplining yourself to detach from food. To know that I can go 24 hours, my body is not going to starve, I'm not going to lose muscle, I'm not going to die, and go, wow, I didn't really need as much as I thought I needed, and what am I doing with my time now that I don't have to eat for those 3 meals in a day? We think there's tremendous value in a practice like that and incorporating it. In fact, if you go back,
great self-reflection.
Yeah, if you go back far enough on Mind Pump, maybe 3 years ago or so, Sal went on a kick for a while, and do you remember this when you were promoting your 2 to 3 day fast every month?
Yeah.
So I think that's extremely valuable, but he wasn't doing it to get more shredded or build more muscle or to get growth hormone production, all the things that is touted around intermittent fasting, right? And that's not to say that those things aren't true. There are good health markers and benefits that are improved by incorporating fasting. I just think the way it's been promoted, or we think the way it's been promoted, I think it's used like a diet, and we don't use it that way with clients.
Yeah, from a medical perspective, there's investigating fasting, like legit fasting for potential cancer treatment, or at least in combination with chemotherapy. So that's kind of interesting, but we're talking about with the food relationship thing, it totally can go the opposite direction. If I'm dealing with someone who's battles with an eating disorder where they restrict themselves, fasting is the worst possible thing I could possibly do. I mean, in an extreme case, I could take an anorexic or a recovering anorexic, be like, yeah, we're not going to eat for 2 days. And like, what a terrible way to approach food relationship. Really, it works well with people who are afraid to be away from food. The person that feels like they need to feed themselves every 2 hours, or afraid of being skinny and they overfeed themselves and stuff themselves. Then a fast can maybe be beneficial if they go into it in the right way. But a lot of the health benefits, by the way, Colin, that come from fasting, cell autophagy and hormonal effects, anti-inflammatory effects, you see also from a restricted calorie diet. So it's not unique specifically to fasting. So it's definitely been turned into the new fad diet, excuse me, if you will. But yeah, for the average person, I would never promote fasting as a way for fat loss.
The clients I used it most with were competitors. What I found was when I coached competitors, so bikini, men's physique, bodybuilders, they had become so addicted to measuring and weighing and tracking their food and eating 6 times a day that they carried their Tupperware everywhere, religiously wouldn't miss any of that, in fear of muscle loss or whatever, or not having enough fuel for the workout. Like those clients, I saw a poor relationship with food, even though they thought they had a good relationship because they were fit and ripped. I saw them so attached to food that I would disrupt that by telling them, hey, next week we're going to go on a 24-hour fast. And I thought and then I would show them, look, you're not going to lose a bunch of muscle. You're going to be just fine. In fact, you're going to see these other health benefits. Watch your mental clarity. Watch these other things. And so I liked to use it to interrupt somebody who's attached to food. Other than that, I think it's been overly used or prescribed to people. And by the way, the people that get most upset about this conversation are people that sell shit related to intermittent fasting. Like whenever we go on this rant, which this YouTube channel for sure will get some bullshit. So there'll be somebody that'll talk shit underneath in the comment section, and it's always some motherfucker that has made their living off of selling intermittent fasting to people. Colin, we lose you?
Oh, you got me. Great.
All right. Well, so does that answer your question? All right.
Yeah, it did. I really appreciate it, guys.
All right, man. Thanks for calling.
Have a good one, dude.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
Yep. Yeah. God forbid.
Could you see his face, Doug? Did we ruin his day right there? Or what?
We just crushed him.
He's like, fuck. All the things he's like, I just ordered this. I just got my intermittent fasting
Well, I guess I'll send it back.
God forbid there's a study that shows any benefit at all to something in a diet.
Leave it to the fitness industry. We'll make a market out of it.
They will turn it into something completely different, and market it and sell it and make people believe it's the next.
Well, watch the comment section on this. Watch the YouTube comment section on this. Exactly.
Yeah.
There will be somebody in here. It changed my life, or somebody who
and maybe it did. Maybe you're that person that needed to detach from food and learn how to deal with hunger cues and cravings,
maybe it just worked incredibly well with your schedule. Maybe you had bad habits first thing in the morning. Maybe you were a 4 donut, Starbucks 900 calorie drinker, and because you no longer can eat in that
now
window,
you don't need that many calories, right? For one thing,
right?
It's like, oh wow, it just brought a lot of awareness to your daily habits, and it was like very beneficial in that sense. So there's a lot of benefits to it, but it's not like the end all be all.
Intermittent fasting really should be viewed more as a spiritual practice. It really should.
I think
that's how it was. It's how it's existed. It's in every major religion. Precisely for that reason.
Then the intent is right.
Yeah, by the way, it's no different. The only difference is we're dealing with food. But the spiritual practice would be like if you fasted from electronics for a few days, or fasted from, maybe from the city. You went camping. How many times people go camping, disconnect, come back like, oh my God, I feel so rejuvenated. I feel so centered. So that's the way I think it should be viewed. It should not be viewed like a diet. If it's viewed like a diet, you're only you're using it wrong, in my opinion.
Well, and the EMS thing is just like that, right? They took a little bit of science and positive benefits that are surrounding it and built it into this whole thing. It's just, and this is another one. Like I see a lot of it right now. It's really popular in it's making its way big time into the men's physique and bodybuilding world, because I still am connected to a bunch of those people. And now they're like doing it while they work out. Like they hook them up to these machines, and it's just like,
it's that same pattern, right? Like they were doing with rubber bands attaching to all the machines on top of already having the load.
Yeah, right, exactly. Let some study come out to show you manipulate the strength curve with using the bands on a hammer strength. Now every fucking guy is doing it inside the gym like it's the next best thing. So I feel the same way about this. If I had a product that was connected to this, absolutely, you could hear me sell it. I could sell it to you for 3 different ways easily.
It's also how we always have to look at new techniques and are they pragmatic? Like, okay, there's this new EMS machine, super powerful, and we're watching bodybuilders and strength athletes be hooked up to it in a gym. There's this computer and wires and pads hooked to their back, and then they do it like, who's going to do that? Right? And is that the same machine that you order online that you get sent to your house? It's not. So
well, it also,
how long would you be applying that?
Yeah.
Like, how long is it going to last?
And also the unintended consequences. Like, I feel like one of the things that we're in the middle of right now with technology is we're trying to promote people being more active and walking more, not trying to find more hacks on how they don't have to move and still be able to get the benefits.
Lazier ways to promote work.
Right.
It's like,
So
come on.
even if it did have some pretty good benefits from it, I'd still be cautious with promoting it, because I know that's one of the biggest problems is we just don't move enough.
No.
So I would much rather teach my client, hey, listen, not only will I give you more benefits by having you go do this flow session of mobility work or yoga practice, you'll get the same, muscle atrophy or the not atrophying benefits that you would get from this machine. Plus, you're now moving, so we're burning some calories, right? And we're promoting other health benefits. I'm thinking of that also. So it's not just, hey, what does this help work or not work, or is it practical or not practical? But it's also like, man, right now we're in this like people don't move anymore, and we're heading in this direction where we talk about all the time, the Wall-E look, before you know it, we're not going to be moving around at all. And this is just another tool. Oh, hey, guess what? You don't got to move.
You know, it reminds me
Sit still and build muscle.
You know, it reminds me of, remember Total Recall? We're like, if you can't afford a vacation, how about if we just give you the memories of a vacation? You know what I mean?
All right.
Oh, that's cool. I'll just remember that I went
That's
somewhere
easier.
that I did it.
Our next caller is Tracy from Maine.
Hey, Tracy, how can we help you?
Hi, guys. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for putting out such amazing, no BS content. I've had a particularly tough year and have suffered a tremendous amount of loss in a short period of time, and really fell off the fitness train. I found your podcast, and you guys truly reignited my passion for all things fitness, and I quite literally, you helped me out of a pretty dark spot. So thank you so much for that.
Wow, thank you.
Awesome.
So I'll just kind of read off what I sent you guys. I added a couple things. So I'm 30 years old. I'm a certified personal trainer of 9 years. Much like you guys have stated, I do struggle to take my own advice sometimes. I started running OCRs, obstacle course races, for anyone who doesn't know, back in 2014. I immediately got hooked, and since then have ran over 50 races, mostly Spartan races, but also Tough Mudder, long ramps. Reached state level in 2016 and have podiumed and placed in top 3 for female, top 5 for age group, and top 50 overall men on my races since.
Wow.
I've ran all over the country, including all of New England, Colorado, Texas, Arizona, plus many other states. I competed at the Spartan Race World Championships at Squaw Valley in Lake Tahoe, and was also asked to run the World Toughest Mudder race, which is by invite only, but conflicted with a Spartan race I had to run. I took a couple years off for a mix of reasons. One, having my son in April of 2020, but also due to the pandemic, races obviously weren't happening. And now I'm finally getting back to my passion of racing this summer. I am 5'8". All of my height is in my legs, and I've always struggled to put muscle on all over, but especially my legs. But since taking a break from racing, I've been able to grow my legs significantly and focus solely on building muscle and strength and repairing my metabolism that I've wrecked with the amount of cardio I did for race training. Another thing I'll note is that I've suffered from eating disorders and body dysmorphia up until just a few years ago. So the fact that I'm happy to be eating in a surplus and putting on size is a huge deal for me. My question is since the majority of my training is running, and I'm talking 10 plus miles a day, sometimes 4 to 5 days a week in season, I'm afraid I'm going to go back to being, quote unquote, a string bean and lose all my gains I've made in my legs and all of my strength. So one, do you think it's possible to maintain my stamina if I cut back on my amount of running? It does a number on my body. And as a mom to a 1-year-old, the luxury of going on runs as often as I'd like isn't really here right now. And two, is the possible to maintain muscle size when doing so much cardio even a thing? Obviously, what I do for training from races works and leads me to podiums. But with the amount of running, I didn't know if it was even possible to keep any sort of mass and also not destroy my metabolism again.
Okay.
Tracy, do you want us to tell you what you want to hear, or do you want us to tell you what you need to hear?
You need to tell me what I need to hear.
Okay, I'm going to give you a short answer, but then I'm going to ask you a couple more questions if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay, so the short answer is, can you maintain your stamina with less running? Yes, and I'm basing that on the fact that you're expressing that your body's feeling broken down. So it sounds and feels to me like you're doing as well as you do in spite of overtraining, which you see oftentimes with elite athletes, that they do as well as they do in spite of the fact that they overdo it. Can you maintain the amount of muscle that you have with lots and lots of running?
No.
Probably not, but can we do more than what you did before? Maybe with a change in programming. So that's the short answer, but I have a couple questions for you if that's okay. You said you just had your son. Okay. And earlier, you can say, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but earlier you said you've had a lot happen, a lot of challenging things happen in a short period of time. Is it okay if you kind of go into that? I'd like to know what we're dealing with before I give you some advice.
Sure. Yeah. In January of last year, or let's go back all the way to, I think it was July of 2020, I lost my aunt. And then 6 months later, I lost my grandmother. And then 6 months later, I lost my father.
Wow.
All two of them were pretty sudden. My father in particular was particularly rough. It was very unexpected and tragic. So a lot of that, I was just dealing with a lot of grief, a lot of stress. Didn't really have a whole lot of motivation to do anything as far as fitness goes and eating well. I was kind of hard on myself, dealt with some guilt stuff. So other than that's what I'm talking about when I say I had a pretty significantly tough year. And in the mix of all that, because of the pandemic, my husband's job was literally evaporated. So he had to change careers. Obviously I was going through postpartum stuff. I dealt with some postpartum depression. It's been quite the couple of years.
Yeah, that's a hell of a ride.
Yeah, that's really, really tough. And I appreciate you being so open. So thank you very much. I can hear in the way you're talking about it, and because it's so recent, there's still a lot of challenge and pain surrounding all of that. Here's the deal with people like us, because I'm going to put myself in this category, people who love to exercise as much as we do. We tend to use exercise like a bit of a drug. It's a great way to escape, maybe distract ourselves. Now, there's some positives that can come from exercise during those times of challenge and grief. Obviously, if it's used in the right way, it can help you stay healthy. It can help you be present, which can be really, really hard when you're dealing with challenging moments. And gives you a little bit of time to take care of yourself, which I'm sure you've heard the term that you can't pour from an empty cup. Now, considering all of that, considering all those challenges and that you're still in it, It was recent, and I can hear the way you're talking that you're still dealing with some of it, and the fact that you've said that you've had or struggled with body image issues and food in the past. I don't think it's wise. So I don't think it's wise for you to sign up for another race or train like you're going to compete at that level. I think, objectively speaking, and I'm sure, and what I want you to try right now, Tracy, is to use the objective side of you. So kind of maybe put aside maybe some attachments that you may have to exercise, or how it makes you feel in the temporary moment. Let's put that aside for now. Objectively speaking, training for an event or training that hard was a great way to push you over the edge, which sounds like you're already there. You're on the edge, holding things together. Luckily, you probably went into this with a good amount of fitness and discipline, so that probably helped. But I think training for a race and training that hard, or like you're going to do a race, is going to push you in the wrong direction. I don't think it's going to be very helpful. So the real advice that I'm going to give you, because I did answer your question about the muscle mass and the running. Yes, you can maintain your stamina with less running, especially if it's more appropriate. Can you have more muscle mass than you did before if you train appropriately? Yes, you can. I do think exercise is a phenomenal tool. I think it's not the only tool. There's a lot of things that need to be combined here, but I do think it's an awesome tool to help you heal and maintain your sanity and your health, but not when you're training that hard. I think you're just throwing stress on top of a stressful situation. The way, if I had complete control over you, I would have you use exercise as a way to take care of yourself right now. Purely from that standpoint. Forget performance, forget strength, forget, how you look and the aesthetics and all that stuff. I would think to myself,
restorative.
What can I do today to take care of me? Because right now, all this other stuff is just, it's big and it's hard to deal with, and there's other priorities at the moment. So I need to take care of me. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, Tracy. Sometimes that means you go on a 10-mile run, right? Sometimes it means you go and you run and you go run real hard and maybe you cry at the end of it. I've done that. I used exercise in that way, but most of the time it probably means you're going to do things that are taking care of your body, probably slower paced, probably more gentle, probably more mobility and stretching. And, classes can be really good for this, Tracy. A good yoga class where you have to listen to an instructor, where they're telling you, this is your practice and not about competing. And I mean, a good one can definitely work wonders. That's just one example, but that's the direction I think you should go. I don't think you should, right now at least, train like you were before. I don't think that's a good idea.
Tracy, that was a long, sensitive answer from Sal. I'd be a little more blunt. If you were my client, I wouldn't let you do it. Just that simple. If I cared about you, I loved you, you trusted me as the person to guide you, and we had a relationship that I'd hope we'd have if you were a client of mine, I would say no. No, I don't want you to do this. What I want you to do is to trust me for a while and let me lead what I think is best for you. And what I think that looks like is a MAPS anabolic type of a routine, 2 to 3 times of strength training. And then the other days are mobility or yoga classes. So, and when you have that desire to go hammer your body for 50 or 10 miles, I actually wouldn't want you to do it. I'd say, hey, let's go take a yoga class. Let's go look inward and be quiet and alone by yourself and work through those things and not go hammer yourself in a workout program. So that would be that. And I would want us to do that for some time until we worked and processed all the stuff that you're going through a fucking lot. And I would want you to process that first and feel like we've moved beyond that and we're in a very healthy place, both with your relationship with exercise and food. And then maybe down the road we talk about, signing up for a Spartan race and doing that. Mm-hmm. But for the time being, where you're currently at right now, I wouldn't let you. I would just say no. No matter how much you think you love it and want to do it, I don't think it's a good place where you're at.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, and that doesn't mean it's off the table completely, right? That's something that could be revisited, but spending that extra time to really focus on, building your body up and getting that kind of mental clarity again and being restorative about it, I think will do you a lot of good.
Yeah, what you don't want to do, Tracy, and you might be noticing this now, is you might be getting signals from your body that's saying, hey, it's too much right now. And what happens if you ignore that is that those signals get louder and louder. And you might, cause a really bad injury. You might be, what you don't want to do is you don't want to be forced to not move anymore because your body just rebelled, right? So,
right.
And so this is going to be a bit of a struggle. I think, and I don't know if you're already doing this, but I think a very wise investment would be to work with a therapist specifically about this around exercise and how do I use it and here's what's happening in my life and I'd like to make myself healthy and not use exercise as a way to distract myself or beat myself up. But and look, you are a trainer, how you would train other people. If that clarity starts to set in when you're starting to feel a particular way, separate yourself from it and say, what would I tell my client? And then that's probably the advice that you should take. And it's way easier said than done. I know I'm saying this oh, here's the answer. It's a piece of cake.
Yeah.
This is going to be a big challenge. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a bit of a struggle. Mm-hmm. So I'm completely aware of that. So I hope that helps you out. If you don't have MAPS Anabolic, we'll send that to you because I do think that's probably the best program to run if you're going to run a program.
I do have MAPS Anabolic. That's the only one I have right now.
You go.
I'm also going to send you MAPS Prime Pro because I think correctional exercise is something you can practice throughout the day. So if you really need to do something, correctional exercise, there's lots of benefit, and it's unlikely that it's going to push your body over the edge. You're going to get some physical benefits from it as well. You'll be improving, mobility in ways that maybe you haven't in the past. It can be used as a very restorative program. So we'll send that over to you. And then finally, Tracy, I'd love to have you. Are you in our forum by any chance?
I'm not. Nope.
I'd like you in the forum. Now, the forum, people post stuff all the time. It could be all over the place, but here's the real value. The value is in the forum. You have a direct connection to us. Whenever you're feeling challenged or whatever, tag us and post your question or whatever you need feedback on. We typically will get back to people within 24 hours. So, because I'd like to follow up with you, I'd like to. I don't think this is something that we can just give you an answer and then let you go.
If you haven't yet, Tracy, look up the Prime Pro webinar. Have you followed the free webinar that I did?
No.
So and so this week, I'll go back to my prescription to you. I would actually have you just follow that to keep it easy. I would say I'd want you doing anabolic on your other days. I want you to literally follow that video. So if you go to primeprowebinar.com, right, Doug?
Correct.
Primeprowebinar.com. It's absolutely free, and it's about 50 minutes long. And I walk you through like a full 50-minute, mobility session from head to toe, basically. I think that's a perfect thing for you to just work on. Throw it on your phone, put it on the TV, and spend 50 minutes doing that on the days that you're not strength training.
Okay. Wow. Thank you guys so much.
No problem. Thanks for calling in, Tracy.
No, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, this is one of the reasons why I value talking to people live is because had we not talked to her and we just saw the question, then it would have been like, here's your workout, here's what you do for performance and whatever.
Right. Here's your nutrition plan, all that stuff.
Yeah, but without knowing like the real content, which makes all the difference in the world. And that's why I asked her those questions, because without knowing, I had to know that in order to give her the right advice. And obviously not a good idea to push yourself when you're already being pushed so hard.
I want to say something, and hopefully, Tracy, you're listening to the after part of this stuff later on, this is actually, and I wanted to tell her this, it's very common. And so we get a lot of heat sometimes for talking about, the negative things of running and marathon runners and the OC.
Signing up for these competitions.
But let me tell you, in my experience, doing this for quite some time now, a lot of people that get addicted to or fall in love with these types of races, and this includes marathon and long runs and ultra marathons, a lot of them are using it as a way to distract them from other stuff that they need to work on. Extremely common. Now, does that mean you can totally have a healthy relationship with Spartan races and be badass at it? It's totally fine. But in my experience, 50-50, I'd say. It's a 50-50 shot. If I get somebody like this who's like, because she's like hardcore, right? 50 something races, like 10 miles a day. Yeah, she's a killer, right? So I'm not talking about the person who does Spartan race once a year. I'm not talking about that person. I'm talking about somebody who trains like this all the time, right? 50-50. That person a lot of times is just like somebody who is medicating with a drug or something else. They're just using exercise instead, and I have to work through that with them. And so for the listener who can't relate with that because they're not that, this is where you need to understand where we come from sometimes when we talk about running, because there's a lot of people that use that as therapy or a way to medicate themselves instead of drugs. And yeah, I do believe it's a lesser evil. I'd much rather.
Can it be damaging?
Yeah, but it can. It can be very damaging and hard to see because it's healthy, quote unquote, right? So that's where we're coming from a lot of times when we're talking about the people that are kind of obsessed with running and exercise like that. This is actually more common than you would actually think.
Our next caller is Tae Woo from California.
What's up, Tae Woo? How can we help you?
Hey, Sal and Adam and Justin and Doug. Good to talk to you and Adam again. I don't know if you guys remember me at the NCI event.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'll see you guys again in April for the coaching con. So nice to finally talk to you guys again.
Oh, good deal.
Awesome,
I'll see you then.
All right. So my question, I'll see you guys there. So my question is about sleep. So for some of the episodes that I've listened to about sleep and recovery, I know the importance of that, being a trainer and relaying that message to my clients. But this question is more personal about me. And so kind of give you a little background. For me, my little sleep routine, I do the whole thing as far as no screens or anything stimulating, an hour before bed. I read before bed, get in bed and turn on like orange lights and all that stuff. So I go to bed around 10:30, 11 and wake up around 5:45. But what I've kind of noticed is for the past, I'd say 5 to 8 years, I've kind of like woken up during the night. So I wouldn't say it was like restful sleep, So what happens is I sometimes go to the bathroom, so that wakes me up a little bit, but then I can kind of go back to sleep. And then sometimes I'll just kind of like wake up naturally and kind of rub my eyes and then just toss around in bed. But the weird thing is when I do wake up, so when my alarm goes off at 5:45, I am up. I don't drink coffee. I don't drink tea, or I don't need caffeine to wake up. I'm up, and throughout the day, I don't really get energy crashes or anything like that, which is kind of weird just because I don't think I'm getting restful sleep because I do toss and wake up during the night. And for days, there are some days where I've gotten like 3 hours of sleep, and then I wake up at like naturally like 7:30, and I'm kind of fine during the day. So my ultimate question is, I'm still in my 20s, so I'm 28. And I've talked to some of the trainers and my friends, and they're like, once you turn 30, everything's going to go to shit. And so I guess that's my question. Is this going to change when I'm 30, or is this my sleep routine, all that stuff, how physiologically, how I'm recovering, is that going to change when I'm 30? I just wanted to see you guys' input on that.
Yeah, your friends are wrong. It's 35. It's not 30. It's right about 35.
I knew it.
No, all joking aside, okay, so there's a difference between being rested, awake and alert, and being wired, right? So sometimes, especially when you're young, you get away with lack of sleep, and what it does is it just makes you feel more wired. And so you feel like, oh, I'm doing well. And it's hard to discern between the two. You said for the past 5 to 8 years. So it sounds like before you had no issue sleeping. Did anything change in that 5 to 8 year period? I know you said you don't use any stimulants, because that would have been the obvious question I would have asked. So has anything changed in that period of time that could be affecting your sleep?
Not really. I'd say.
What time do you work out at?
Like right now, around 9:30 in the morning.
Do you drink a lot before you go to bed? Water-wise?
No, not really. I'd say I probably limit my water consumption probably around what time? Like around maybe like 8 or 9. And sometimes I'll maybe sip on my water bottle, just the tiny sips, just because I'm like a little parched. But other than that, not really. No.
Do you feel more stressed or anxious in general?
No, that's the thing. So like again, like when I wake up at 5:45, I'm like a positive person in general. So when I wake up, I'm up. I don't hit snooze. I don't have any energy crashes. As far as going back to the first question of like anything changing, not really. I think the only thing that changed was like my wake up time, because back in like high school, middle school, or whatever, I could sleep in until like 9:30 or 10. But once I had more clients in the morning, being a personal trainer and coach, and then I have meetings in the mornings at 6. So that's when I started waking up at 5:45.
So when you wake up, like sporadically, in the middle of the night, you said you go to the bathroom sometimes, like, do you notice a temperature change? Like, are you hotter? Like, is there like fluctuations in that?
Very minimal, I'd say. Let's see.
Do you get strange feelings at all when Sal posts pictures with no shirt on?
That's the direction I was going to go next.
Adam feels like he's alone in that, but I told him it's
all the
normal.
time. Yeah. All the time.
Okay. So Taewi, I'm gonna rephrase your question. Please tell me if this is,
I'm done.
I'm gonna rephrase your question. Tell me if I'm on or off. Okay. So you're asking is, hey guys, I get less sleep than people say I'm supposed to get, but I feel great. I have a lot of energy. I don't need caffeine.
Right.
So everything feels good, but I'm worried that something may be off. I just don't feel like it is. Is that accurate?
Right. So like I said in the question, like when people turn 30, once you turn 30, everything kind of changes.
Yeah, no, that's a bunch of bullshit. Well, I guess if it ain't
right,
broke,
right.
There's nothing to fix.
Well, you can deal with it when it happens.
Sure.
I mean, okay, so my guess, I'm going to guess here, is because there is a polymorphism, a genetic difference. It's rare, but there are people who require less sleep than others. So there's a small chance you could be one of those people. what I would guess it is that there is kind of unrealized anxiety and stress, maybe around work. Maybe you wake up, you got to train your clients. You don't want to be late. You want to do a good job. So it's kind of running through your mind, and that's kind of affecting your sleep. That's what I would guess. But there's not much to work with here if you're telling us that you feel great, you've got lots of energy, you don't need lots of stimulants, and you're just wondering if it's cause any problems.
I wouldn't worry about it too much. You're not. It's not going to. It's not going to shave 10 years off your life because you went through a period of sleeping, less hours than what people say is optimal. So long as you're feeling good. I think the big thing I would just keep an eye on as you turn 30 or 35, as you get older. I mean, if you were to have talked to me at 28 about sleep, I would have just scoffed about it. I didn't think I was missing anything. And even knowing what I know now, I still don't know if you could have convinced me to put more focus on it because I didn't think I was feeling anything from it. So maybe, you're fine. Maybe like Sal said, you're an anomaly as far as somebody, how many hours you need. And maybe you won't recognize that till you get older. And when you do, you adjust and you have the tools. You've been listening to Mind Pump for a long time. You know what you should be doing.
This reminds me of when Doug was messing with that sleep monitor. And it was like a wearable, and he really got into it, right, Doug? In terms of like the analytics, and like was starting to get a little bit obsessed about it, and then actually like interrupted your actual sleep, right?
That's correct. Yeah, I became very competitive about sleeping. So I got so worried about sleeping, I started to have poor sleep. And here's the thing about turning 30, okay, coming from somebody that is
way
a few years older than that. That's bullshit. Okay, I'm just going to say that right now. At 30, 40, 50, it's really,
virile.
If you think you're going to have a problem, you're going to have a problem. If you don't think you have a problem, you take care of yourself, you won't have a problem. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you really want to go deeper, if you think there's an issue, Tewu, I would work with a sleep expert and monitor. They'll actually monitor your sleep to see what's going on. But there's not much to work with on our end about what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm most concerned about the weird feelings you're getting when Sal do those posts. That's
totally
the only thing that's the only thing that stands out to me.
Totally normal, Adam. Yeah. There's no issues there
totally
whatsoever.
Normal, like Sal says. But yeah, I guess going back to the anxiety thing, I think. Now that I'm thinking back on it, when I had to, teach boot camp classes or like clients in the morning, I think there was that anxiety of like, oh, what if I miss my alarm and what if it doesn't go off? And I think that's potentially why.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I would guess. Were you?
That used to happen to me.
How were you in school? Were you like man, I got to do this. I got to be perfect, straight A's. I got to work my ass off. Or are you like that with other things?
More or less. I think, in college, I used to be in the marching band. So we would practice. We would have to be at the stadium at 7 a.m. So I would wake up at like 5:30 or 6, just get ready and all that. So I guess that's when I had to kind of force myself to be like a morning person. But yeah, middle school, high school, I could sleep until like 9:30 or 10 easily.
Great.
Yeah. Big flute. He's a big flute.
You do you meditate?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Right before I go to, what was that?
I start a meditation practice.
Okay.
You have some. It sounds like you have some unrealized anxiety that you're not completely aware of, and that's what's causing you to wake up early and maybe toss and turn because you're maybe anxious about being a good trainer or building a business.
Maybe focus on something else, like creating a problem by focusing on something that's not really a problem.
Yeah.
Creates its own issue.
Yeah, meditation would help, I think, but meditation's a practice, so it's like exercise. That means you're going to suck at it for a while, so you got to keep sticking to it. So just keep that in mind if you end up taking the advice with meditation. But it feels like there's some unrealized or some anxiety that you're just not fully aware of, and so it feels like things are weird. What's going on? But the more I talk to you, the more it sounds like you have some anxiety about being good or being a good trainer or waking up on time or, showing up on time or building your business. That'll definitely keep somebody, it's like a movie running in the background of your brain, right? So, and it's just there. And meditation can help you turn things off or to say it better, meditation can help you not focus on the movie in the background. So it's just there, but that's okay. You're not identifying with it. So that would be the only piece of advice I could give you based on what you gave us. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, I think so. I think now that I'm actually talking to someone about it, because I think this is the first time I've like actually like dug deep a little bit into this. Yeah, I think the hidden anxiety part is definitely, I'm obviously dropping my ego of like, oh, I'm always positive, I'm always energetic, but dropping the ego, like maybe I do have some, unforeseen anxiety that I've been kind of like pushing down, I guess. So, but this opened my eyes to a lot of things.
Hey, no, that's great. That was actually really, really cool change of direction there at the very end with what you just said. That's a great first step. So we'll see you at the next event, Tewu. Thank you for calling.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys. See you in April.
No problem. Yeah, boy, does this remind you when you get a client and they would talk to you about stuff and you're like, this is really weird, but then you keep asking questions, keep talking, and then it starts to kind of come out. I do feel
I get
like
DMs.
that's the issue.
I get DMs a lot like this, and it's normally from fans or people that have been listening a lot to the show because we cover a lot of stuff, and sometimes I feel like people. It almost like what Justin was saying, where they're almost like they're looking for a problem where there's not a problem.
They found a diagnosis for something that they were looking for. They're like looking for a problem.
Right. It's like if he doesn't need to use caffeine, he pops right up when he wakes up. I mean, sure, we could sit here and act like a bunch of therapists and try to get to the bottom of like this deep-rooted anxiety.
Well, he's actually stressing over something he thinks he should stress about. You know what I mean? Like,
it's like you're actually what you're talking about right now. Just the fact that you're talking about it is probably doing more harm than what is actually happening at nighttime. So just let it go. I don't think. I mean, he's got nothing that's pointing towards this sleep is really, really affecting him. It's the thought about him losing the sleep, which is something he got probably from us, listening to us talk about the benefits.
And this is the sort of dark side of like the biohacking community. I think you get in so much to the nuances of things that are
Good
like
point.
You get so obsessed on every little detail of things, and it interrupts, the whole. Like it tells your progress.
And to play devil's advocate, it very well could be a situation where the only thing he's aware of is that his sleep is off, but what he's not aware of is why, or that he's anxious, or I don't know about you guys, but I've definitely had lack of sleep, but I'm able to function because I'm wired, and because I'm older, I know the difference between wired and rested and awake, right? He might not even be aware of that difference and just be like, no, I'm doing fine. I pop up and I'm working and, burning his body out a little bit, and he can get away with it. So it may be that, it may be one of those things, but I think the overthinking aspect of it, I think it kind of became a little evident as we talked to him a little more, right? Yeah.
Our next caller is Xavier from Massachusetts.
Xavier, what's happening? How can we help you?
Yeah. Well, first off, I just want to say hi, guys. I've been listening to you guys for a few years now, and you've definitely helped me do my own coaching thing and whatnot. So I guess I'll get right into it. So I've been feeling, I would get extremely nauseous in the middle of some of my workouts. And I've been feeling that way since I've been running track since high school. And it would only be during my extremely hard workouts. Now, recently, I first noticed it during a really hard leg day. I got extremely sweaty, passed out on the floor. Well, I didn't lose consciousness or anything. And then right after that, I had to go straight to the bathroom and take a number 2, I guess you would say. So I thought it was food related. So I stopped eating before my workouts. That didn't help. I thought it was pre-workout related. What else? And I looked towards water and salt, and none of those things worked out for me. So I was hoping you guys would have some sort of answer.
Yeah, I got an answer for you. Just work through it. Push yourself till you throw up. And
pain is weakness.
You would never hear that from us.
You know what you're doing. I'm gonna tell you a little story. So it's just
this used to happen.
I'm gonna make something up here. So just imagine your friend is literally standing against the wall and just banging it against the wall, and they're like, my head hurts, and I thought I was dehydrated. I'm drinking more water. It doesn't seem to help, and
took Advil.
I thought, I took some Advil, but it didn't really help that much. And I thought maybe I needed more sleep, and I've been sleeping more. And, you're looking at them and you're like, you're
So I
banging
put
your
a
head.
helmet on
You're
and
banging your head against
that
the
didn't
wall. That's
work.
probably why. The obvious answer is you're working out too hard. I think the reason why that's not obvious to you is because you think to yourself, this isn't that hard. Why am I feeling this way? Right? Right. And it doesn't always happen, right? You're okay with upper body workouts and if you go easier?
Well, no. So I'd be lying to you if I say I haven't felt it during an upper body day. I will say this, though. I did feel it. I've been running laps anabolic recently, and I felt it during the first set of squats.
Yeah.
And it was I don't know if I can talk about this. Is that okay?
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay. Yeah, it's the 2x12, and I felt it during my first set. I was able to push through it, didn't have to run to the bathroom that time, but I did get extremely exhausted. And I guess I don't want to accept that maybe I'm working too hard because it doesn't seem like I am.
Okay, let me ask some more questions here. I actually used to experience this, and I would consider myself a hard gainer. Mine was actually food related, not getting enough food. I wasn't fueling my body with enough calories to support the intense workouts I was doing. Also, something that I heard you say was, so you stopped eating food before your workout, so that would only make that situation worse because you're even lower calorie now. And then in addition to that, if you take a pre-workout on an empty stomach, caffeine will give that feeling on an empty stomach a lot of times too. So I don't know if you've ever experienced having like a cup of coffee first thing in the morning and sometimes you feel nauseous if it's like a really strong cup of coffee. Caffeine will do this sometimes.
And have you messed with your carbohydrate intake, like, like fruits or like oatmeal, or like what kind of breakfast did that consist of?
So when this first started, again, I stopped eating and then I started doing it again. I would have maybe like oatmeal and a banana at first. But now I've been doing the bagel, cream cheese, banana, LMNT, and that's kind of been getting me through it a little bit longer.
What about are you taking a pre-workout?
Yes.
How many milligrams of caffeine is in your pre-workout? What are you taking?
I think it's 150. Oh, 200 actually. I'm sorry. It's 200 milligrams.
Okay, so a few things here. One, I would schedule a physical, get a routine blood test, just make sure that there's no lacking nutrients. Make sure your iron is okay. Your B vitamins are okay because sometimes that can cause that.
Yeah,
Number two,
there might be a deficiency somewhere.
Number two, this doesn't happen during normal workouts. This typically happens with hard, strenuous ones.
I want to say yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I would just not go super hard for a while. I would treat exercise or workouts like practice. I would practice the movements, train within your limits, because going past your limit, whether you think so or not, is not helpful, right? Getting to the point where you feel like you're sick.
Yeah, it's setting you back.
Yeah, regardless of the reason, it's not going to benefit you, even if it's a nutrient deficiency. Going past that point is not going to help you. So I would go easy. I would either go lighter or less reps or rest longer or less volume or all of the above. And then slowly work your capacity up. Very little by little, work your capacity up. Those are the things I would do right out the gates.
Have you checked your blood pressure in a while too?
Yes, I actually did. It was perfect.
Okay.
So
I know I had
110.
That.
It was a 110/70, I believe.
I would tease out the advice that Sal said. I think we all agree. Go get checked to be safe. None of us are doctors here. There could be something. There could be an underlining issue that something you're not getting or something going on that we should check just to be safe. So we're going to start with that advice from all of us. But then I would also tease out the pre-workout. I've taken pre-workouts before, and definitely when I'm on an empty stomach and I go to train,
and give them the poops,
and it makes me nauseous, makes me have to go take a shit, like all the above. So if you haven't teased it out, I would tease that out and see if that makes a difference too.
Yeah, I used to take a few different pre-workouts. I've been like experimenting with myself and whatnot, and definitely had to rule out one. But even though it was like my favorite brand, I had to rule them out just because like it just wasn't agreeing with my stomach. Yeah, I don't know if this correlates at all, but also when I eat a ton of carbs, I tend to feel the same feeling.
Okay.
Well,
Okay, go get a physical. Make sure that your blood sugar and your insulin sensitivity is okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like an unquenchable thirst?
Can't say that I have felt it before.
Okay, I would still go get go get a physical. Let your doctor know. Have them do routine blood tests just to rule anything out. In the meantime, train well within your limits because you're not doing yourself any favors by getting to the point where you feel like you need to throw up. And then as far as eating too many carbohydrates in one sitting and making you feel crappy, well, until you figure out what the deal is, I would eat less at a sitting. And again, just stay within your limits until you figure out or rule out that there's any major medical issue like your insulin sensitivity is off because blood sugar issues can cause that, can cause nausea, can cause you to make you feel like passing out. It can, so it can cause a lot of things. So check that out. Make sure there's no nutrient deficiencies and train within your limits. If your tests come back, doctor's like everything looks fine, we don't think we need to do any further testing. Then just stay within your limits and gradually move yourself up. And you can do it. So long, again, as there's no major deficiency or medical issue, you can slowly move your tolerance up and up until, you're able to train at a high intensity and not feel like you're going to die.
As a hard gainer, I would attempt to eat a good high calorie meal about 2 hours before workout. I don't know if you're timing it right now or paying attention to that.
I wake up first thing in the morning and usually go just because that's how my schedule works. So it's kind of hard to wake up that early. Wake up around.
See, this is why I think it's low cal. This is why I think it's low calorie. You're a hard gainer, so I'm assuming we have kind of a fast metabolism. You're on the leaner side. You're fasted all night where you don't eat. It sounds like you're eating oatmeal and you're talking about 400 or 500 calories tops.
Yeah.
And then you're also taking this super caffeinated drink. To me, I think getting yourself better fed, maybe try doing your workout at a later time just to test this and see if it's not that. Again, back to the first advice, go get tested. That's first and foremost. But there's some other things that I would also play with. Like I would try, like I don't ever feel great working out in the morning, just never have. And I get some feelings like this. I normally have to have 2 good meals in my system before I get a lift. And that's a real easy way to figure out if that's an issue. Because if you find that, man, anytime I work out at 2 in the afternoon or later, I never have these problems, but I only have these problems in the morning when I train. Well, maybe it's just that your body needs more calories. You're not feeding it enough for the workout that you're doing, and then you're feeling the blood pressure, blood sugar thing going on that could cause the nausea. So I would look into that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess I should also add that I have been doing more of like a power building style of exercising, and it's not super high rep with the heavier exercises. So, maybe that's definitely playing a part.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, honestly, you just it's too much for whatever's happening. It's too much. Train within your limits and go make sure that there's no major medical issues underlining kind of, what's going on.
And circle back with this, Xavier. I'd love to hear what happened. So I want to know what's going on with you so we can get to the bottom of it.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Dude.
Yeah. Thank you.
This is why I recommend good trainers and coaches have a network of people they can work with. Because I would love.
I experienced this a lot. This was like I actually experienced this quite a bit. Now, obviously, it's my situation. Maybe his is completely different. But there was 2 main things that really made a big difference for me. Actually, one of them was getting out of the body part split, because this was leg day for me.
Oh yeah,
every
20 sets for leg.
Yeah,
you get anxiety about it because of the
every
aftermath,
leg day. Yeah. I was on the edge of throwing up every workout, and even when I thought I was backing off the intensity, I would look at how way everybody else is training, and I see what I'm doing. I'm like, God, I'm such a wuss. Like, I want to throw up, and this is all I've done. Like,
and you are a wuss, so it doesn't matter, right? It was just too much.
But I also noticed that if I was very well fed, 2 meals or so before my workouts, that I didn't experience this feeling. And he commented about him being a hard gainer. He might be just a lot lower calorie. I mean, hard gainers normally are not eating enough calories. That's already an obvious thing with hard gainers. So he's probably low calorie. He's in the morning time, okay, when he's been basically fasted all night.
Throw some caffeine on that.
Yeah, then throw some caffeine on that.
Said 400 or 500 calories, and then he's going right into his workout, not even like fully digested.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably what it is, but I definitely think if you're feeling like this, you want to rule things out. Right?
No, you're
want to make
right.
sure.
I mean,
because that could be something that's just kind of hidden. But yeah, nonetheless, I mean, it is crazy because the last thing a person wants to say is, well, I'm working out too hard.
Yeah.
Because what we do is we look at our workouts and we say, well, this is not too hard. Well, obviously
I can
it is.
handle this though.
well, yeah, or you compare to others like I did. I was looking at what my friends and everybody else was, and they were doing twice the intensity as I was, but I was struggling with that.
Totally. Look, if you like our information, head over to mindpumpfree.com and check out our guides. We have guides that can help you with almost any fitness and health goal. You can also find all of us on social media. So Justin is at MindPumpJustin. I'm at MindPumpSal, and Adam is at MindPumpAdam.